From KVUE News in Austin, you're watching Texas This Week with Ashley Goodo.
Good morning. The landscape of education in Texas is changing. A bill to create an education savings account program is now headed to Governor Greg Abbott's desk. We sit down with the author of Senate Bill 2, but first, let's get to the 3 things you need to know in Texas politics. Early voting is underway for the May election. Several Central Texas cities have council and school board races along with bonds on the ballot. Early voting ends April 29th. Election day is May 3rd. For the first time in 5 years, the Texas Education Agency unveiled ratings for schools and districts. It comes after a nearly 2-year-long legal battle stopped the release of the 2022-2023 ratings. Back in 2023, more than 100 school districts sued the TEA, arguing the ratings were skewed because of a redesigned STAR test and changes to the agency's accountability standards. Earlier this month, an appeals court sided with the TEA, allowing the results to be released. Compared to the last ratings from 2019, the number of schools with an F rating increased by about 3%. You can find the ratings at KVUE.com. Governor Greg Abbott signed the first bill of the 89th Texas legislative session into law on Wednesday. Senate Bill 14 establishes the Texas Regulatory Efficiency Office within the governor's office. It will be similar to the federal DOGE office, aiming to improve the way state agencies create and enforce regulations. Governor Abbott says SB 14 will save taxpayers money and grow the Texas economy by cutting red tape. A historic vote by the Texas legislature will change education in Texas. On Thursday, the Texas Senate voted along mostly party lines to concur or accept the House changes to Senate Bill 2, a bill to create an education savings account program in Texas. I sat down with the author of the bill, State Senator Brandon Creighton, to talk about the changes and what this means for public education. Talk to us about the differences between what passed out of the upper chamber and how it came back, how the House changed Senate Bill 2.
Sure. Well, it was surprisingly aligned on the bigger components, right? I mean, when it left the Senate floor, it was $1 billion from the surplus for the funding itself, which would serve about 100,000 students. That's the largest launch for a school choice plan in American history, so we're really proud of that. The House maintained that. The House made some changes on the amount that a student that would ultimately receive an ESA that has special needs in education, the amounts that they would receive as a ceiling. So we were around 11,500 for those students in the Senate. The House ended up with up to 30,000. That's one of the major examples of where they ended up. They also took out what we call micro schools, schools that aren't yet accredited but are working towards being accredited. And the House made a change that only a private school that's been accredited for 2 years and has that track record will be part of the initial plan for the use of the ESAs. So I think those are 2 big changes, and there were others as well.
When we think about some of those changes, though, the House obviously is tying the funding, the amount of each account, also to what schools get, right? It's 85% of that per student funding.
Right.
That's a little more than the 10,000 hard cutoff that you all passed in the Senate. So, I mean, obviously this would mean between that and the special education, fewer students theoretically would be able to get ESAs in this first go round, right?
That's right. That factor of 85% of M&O, or what school districts receive, and tying those 2 together, that took the base education savings account amount up to, $10,000 and some change, probably that 10,200, 300, 400 range, which was fine. That was very close to our number. But at the end of the day, that's a factor that's tied together now, and that's okay. The Senate agreed with that, and we moved forward with the changes on that provision.
Talk to us about the weights and the lottery system, right? About how students will get selected to be a part of the program.
Sure. Well, fairness in the selection process has always been a key priority, I think, of both chambers, really, from what I've seen over the past several years of working on this, right? And we tried to make sure that we could design a system where there could be no accusations of favoritism or, certain income categories getting ESAs or those with opportunity over others to receive an ESA. And it's a true lottery selection. So when you have it as a lottery selection and you also have the weights and the priorities being significantly set and weighted for special needs and income vulnerable students, then all of the accusations of the school choice plan being only for the wealthy really just becomes false narrative. Our priority set has always been, through this entire journey, to weight special needs and those with income vulnerabilities first.
This is really going to change the landscape of education in Texas for, our K through 12 students. Talk to us about just where you see this going, where you see the future of education going in Texas.
It's absolutely going to change the landscape. And what we've seen in other states is it's been incredibly positive, right? 2/3 of the nation has adopted school choice and expanded opportunities like we've just adopted here yesterday. 2/3 of the country has already taken these steps and traveled these directions for a reason, because it's helping students that need help the most. We're going to lift up our public schools with historic funding this session and incredible policies that they are all going to celebrate. And we just have to get to the end of session to show that. Our public school teachers, the same. The largest pay raise in Texas history was another bill of mine that we've passed out of the Senate, and we're working on the House on the final numbers. So I think that by and large with this plan, it is another option for kids that need help the most. There's no threat or lack of harmony with all the other options in education that we currently have, and any rhetoric or narrative that's been designed to imply that there is conflict between the different opportunities is tragic to me, because it's just not true.
I know you have to be careful about what you say, but there were some differences in what the House wants to fund, how it wants to do, more money for teacher raises, more money for students with disabilities, and how the Senate wants to kind of take away the tie to that per student funding for teacher raises, but still lift up our teachers. Can you give us any hints on how you guys are reconciling those differences?
I'm not being careful with what I say. I'm here for the straight talk.
Okay. So, there are differences between what the House wants to do and what the Senate wants to do in terms of funding public schools.
Well,
any idea on where we're going to land?
Of course. So the Senate, what we did for our public school funding and teacher pay raises is we listened to the superintendents and the school board members and our teachers, and we poured dollars into specific buckets, specific funding initiatives that matched their requests. The House version primarily increased the basic allotment, where the school districts receive those monies, and then within that basic allotment, they're told how to use those dollars. For instance, a very large percentage of the basic allotment has to be used for personnel costs, right, for compensation. So we wanted to in the Senate, take those guardrails off of the basic allotment to allow every diverse district to be able to use money however they see fit, and then pour money into different buckets like safety and teacher pay and special education, and many of the different requests that school districts had made. So what we'll do is we'll look at the buckets we've filled, we'll look at the House as they have increased the basic allotment, and we'll end up with a hybrid between the two, and we'll all win together on that blended funding stream.
So overall, one big win for you, but much more work to do before the end of the session.
We have a tremendous amount of work to do for the rest of the session. I think our public school initiatives are going to be celebrated across the state as we continue to roll those out. And we're going to land the plane in a very good place for our Texas students. School choice and education savings accounts has obviously taken a lot of the oxygen out of the room, But we're looking forward to looking at and featuring the policies for public schools for the rest of the session that I think are going to get a lot of attention in a very positive way.
Right. Senator Creighton, we thank you for your time.
Thanks for the time this morning. Always good to see you.
Governor Greg Abbott applauded the passage of SB 2 on social media, calling it, quote, historic school choice legislation. He is expected to sign the bill soon. That's Texas This Week.